It never happens at a good time. The pipe bursts at midnight. The heater quits on the coldest night. Suddenly, you're overwhelmed. That's when HomeServe is here. For $4.99 a month, you're never alone. Just call their 24/7 hotline and a local pro is on the way. Trusted by millions, HomeServe delivers peace of mind when you need it most. For plans starting at just $4.99 a month, go to homeserve.com. That's homeserve.com. Not available everywhere. Most plans range between $4.99 to $11.99 a month your first year. Terms apply on covered repairs.
Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, the podcast aimed to inspire you to find your voice and become the best, truest, and most authentic version of yourself. Spiritually intimate, soul-to-soul conversations, life-changing insights, and spiritual teaching and healing. Real, raw, unfiltered. Join your host, Tisha Michelle.
Welcome and welcome back to another episode of Seeing with Your Soul. I'm your host, Tisha Michelle. Hi, everybody. If you are new, this is your first time popping in, welcome again. So Seeing with Your Soul is aimed to inspire you to find your voice and become the best, truest, and most authentic version of yourself. And we have some spiritually intimate soul-to-soul conversations, some life-changing insights, spiritual teaching and healing. And honestly, this podcast is real, it's raw, and it's unfiltered. And I believe this is how we get to our truth. When we get outside this box that we were put in, where we step away from the chaos, we step away from all the beliefs and the titles and the labels and what you should and you shouldn't do. And we just keep it real and just allow things to just, flow and allow things to just be raw and really tap in to just who we are, right? I knew back in 2018, as I started, after the death of my best friend, which was in 2017, that I was really starting to learn more about who I am and, my place in the world, even though I still question that, as I continue to evolve, I really question that place. But I do know that I'm meant to really help people connect to their truth, not my truth, their truth, right? But in order for me to do that, I had to start getting connected to my own truth, right? Experience is the greatest teacher. So with this podcast being birthed, it's allowed me that opportunity to speak my truth, to use my voice, to be in flow and to just share, my thoughts and my experiences, my beliefs, right? They might not be your beliefs, they're mine, but it allows me to, like I said, speak my truth and be okay with that, right? Be okay with it. And I do know in the beginning of the podcast, I would say something and then I'd be done. I'd be like, why did I just say that? Oh God, what are people going to think? And I don't even do that anymore. So, my intention, with the podcast is to continue to speak my truth and really, hope that it helps you guys really connect to your truth and then also use your voice to speak your truth, right? Because this is what it's about. It's about evolving and growing. And, one of the ways to do that is to speak your truth, Yeah. So welcome, guys. All right. So around here, I definitely always like to start off by expressing gratitude. And normally I go first and then you go, but we're going to switch it up today. And I want you guys to go first. What are you grateful for? But let's get grounded. Unless you are driving or operating some machinery, got to put that disclaimer. I want you guys to go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to take a nice deep breath. And you're just going to breathe in through your nose. And just let it out through your mouth. All right, let's do it again. Another nice deep breath, breathing in through your nose. And out through your mouth. All right, one more. Another nice deep breath. Let's get centered. Breathing in through your nose. And just letting it out through your mouth. Don't you just feel good? All right, so what are you guys grateful for? go ahead and express that gratitude. Say it in your head. We say it out loud. You can go ahead and put me on pause, grab your little journal, write everything that you're grateful for, whatever. However you do it is perfect because it's your way. What are you guys grateful for in this present moment? All right, so my turn. So I definitely will say in this present moment, I am grateful for me, but I'm grateful for taking action on my health. And you guys, if you've been listening to me for a while and just throughout this journey, you would hear me talk about, if something was going on with my health or if I'm not feeling well and these different things. So, you would have heard me talk about like my stomach. So recently, and actually I know I talked about this on the podcast before, where I talked about on my left, lower abdomen, and directly behind there, I just had my back, it just was hurting really bad. And it's been chronic. It's been for a really long time. And I'm about to tell y'all all my business. And finally I was just like, I like Western, and I've talked about this before. I like Western, and I believe that we need the Western, meds for certain things. It's again, my belief. And so I'm not always running to the doctor. So I'm going to the doctor. It's like, damn. But it's been hurting and it's a chronic thing. And I do know for me that when it's something that it's chronic, it's definitely, because everything on the inside manifests on the outside, right? So I know that it's something really seriously going on energetic wise. And it's shining the light in that physical sense. So going to a doctor and getting being diagnosed with something helps me look at that, what I've been diagnosed with, and look and match it with the metaphysical aspect of it. So I kind of use them. Okay, so you tell me what it is. And I'm like, okay, now let me match it with the metaphysical part. So when I went, they did an x-ray and she said that my spine was fine and all my blood work came back fine, which was super, super, super happy about that. And she was like, but the lady did say that you were constipated. And I was like, that's stupid. I'm like, I don't feel constipated, but whatever, as long as it ain't nothing else crazy. So a couple of days are going by and I was just like, I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's that. It has to be something else. And I was like, maybe it is. So then the right side, I never have the problem over there, but on my right side of my abdomen, the lower part, it just had this really sharp pain. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, is this my appendix? So I'm pushing in the area and I'm like, this shit hurts. I'm like, I think this is my appendix. So of course I went to the trusted source, Google. And I'm like, where's your appendix at? How do you know if it's your appendix? I'm doing all this to self-diagnose. And the area that I'm seeing it on is the area where it hurts, where that pain is. And I was like, well, I guess we'll know in the next 48 to 72 hours if it's my appendix and that shit ruptures, right? So then I seen a part that said it could also be because you're constipated. I was like, wait, what? Holy shit, is this a thing? Because I don't feel it. And I know too much information, but I'm going somewhere with this, guys. just follow along with me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to schedule an appointment and they don't have anything until January 25th, but I got on the schedule. But of course, if I felt like it was super major unbearable, I would get my ass to a hospital before seriously my appendix would rupture. So I said, maybe they're onto something and maybe I am. So I drink this tea and it's a colon cleanse and I don't feel like I'm constipated, but all right, this is what you said it is. So let me just at least rule it out just in case you was just making it up. But I've really just been feeling it and it's really just been hurting. And I was like, you know what? It's time for me to go get a colon hydrotherapy, just AKA a colon cleanse, right? Talked about this probably about a year ago or so where I did a colon cleanse, right? So I went and got a colon cleanse. And when I did it last time, which was about a year ago, they say to get 3. They say to at least start off with 3 sessions because the colon is dumb long, right? So it's broken down into 3 sections. So it's the descending, then it's the transverse, and then it's the ascending. So the descending is the left side. They start there first. And then the transverse, I believe, is the top of like your stomach. And then the ascending is on the right. And they want you to at least start with the 3 sessions so they can break them down, because they do one session, one section, and then the next one, and then the next one, and you do it a week apart, no more than 2 weeks apart. So the last section that they do is the ascending. And that's the part that stores the most. That's like the longest. You can have like shit in there from literally, no pun intended, for like years stored up in that portion of your colon. So that's the stuff that's been, stored in there the longest. So I made it through the first 2 sessions, and I started this when I was in a visit in Virginia. And then when the third one was time to do it, I was in Arizona, and my coming back here got pushed back, and I didn't make it for the session. I ended up like rescheduling like twice. But at this point, I was past the 2-week mark. So you'd have to start all over the way that they're like doing that. And I just never went back. And here we are, damn near a year later. I don't think it's been a full year, but a year later. And I'm like, oh, I think I should go back and get this session done. So I really started thinking, and this was when I was getting my session done the other day. We're starting all over, whatever. And I started thinking when I was laying like on the table and having it done, I was like, I might have even self-sabotaged that, because I got through the first 2. But when I got to the last session, I was in Arizona and, I couldn't make it back and blah, 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 blah. But that's a section that holds on to the longest. It's there like the longest, right? For time wise, right? Of what's stored there and what didn't flush out or whatever. I don't know the whole technical thing, so don't hold me to that. And I started thinking, I said, I might have like self-sabotaged that and didn't want to release it, right? So there's always an energetic thing attached to like the physical sense, right? So when we are storing these things in this food and things aren't digesting properly because of like your diet and all these other things, right? It's like you're holding on to things that are no longer serving you. And if you've been rocking with me for a while, you hear me talk about that a lot. And I think I just wasn't ready to let things go. And I know that might sound crazy to some of you, but I'm like, I think I'm just holding on to so much stuff. So we fast forward, and it's the other day, I have this session done, and she's like, and she's actually, when they start on the left side. That was that first session, which is I'm having all that pain. And she was like, yep. She said, your doctors weren't lying. You're definitely constipated. And I didn't feel like I was. She's like, you're definitely constipated. And I was like, oh, this is awkward. And, when, I don't know if you've ever, for those of you who have never gotten a colon cleanse, it's depends on your level, your threshold when it comes to pain. So you definitely feel like the pressure. And you feel so much pressure, you literally cannot wait until that is released. And when it gets to that point where now it's releasing and coming out, you feel so much better. Like, fuck. You even feel lighter. And I'm just thinking, and I'm relating everything to just life. And I'm like, how much stuff am I holding on to? I love this feeling of releasing. I love this feeling of just letting go, right? So as I'm like releasing, I'm just imagining what energetic wise is attached to that. What are some of the things on a deeper cellular level that, releasing? I was like, I'm going to get through these. I'm going to get through the next one, and I'm going to get to the third one to get to that, that part. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm committed to releasing what is no longer serving me. I am, committed to releasing what is in, my body. So when I say that I'm grateful for it, it's because I'm recognizing it. My health is, I can live a long time. None of us knows when our time is going to come, but the things that's in our hands and the things that's in my hands, like I need to do better at that when it comes to like health wise, right? I need to do is getting the colon cleanse, right? Being mindful of what it is that I'm eating, drinking more water, the big one, the number one, like, come on now. I need to be drinking more water. And my house stays with water because my daughter, My youngest daughter, that's all she drinks is water. So there's really no excuse other than just not doing it. So I just thought that that was just, really interesting when you look at the aspect of getting a colon cleanse. Because when it comes to your health, it all starts in your gut. It starts in your stomach. And this is where I'm having the pain at, right? And now it's transferring to like my back, right? It all starts in your gut, and that's your colon. Like, it's just responsible for so much. Never even really realized how important like the colon was when it comes to like your health until I got the very first colon cleanse, which was before last year. It was quite a few years ago. That was the first time I had actually tried it. And that's when I started really learning more about what that all, entails, right? So I highly suggest for everyone to get a colon cleanse. Clean your system out, because it affects a lot. Even just if you are like, with things, built up in there, it can your concentration, because like getting a colon cleanse can help with your concentration. It can help with the fatigue and the tiredness in there. I mean, there's so many just benefits, from there. But yeah, so I'm grateful for just taking action. And I hope you guys, if you are feeling, some sort of way, or maybe you're tired all the time, get that looked at. Get like a blood work. Get some, just a CBC. Get some blood work done on you. And just kind of just check some things out, right? Because these things are in our control. Our health is in our control. All right, so which one of you guys want to rock with me and release 20 pounds? So my intention is to release 20 pounds, and I'm not saying let's go on a diet. No, we're not doing diets. No, they don't work for me. It's really more of a lifestyle. But when I say like rock with me on releasing 20 pounds, let's start with just energetic wise. Like, what are you carrying around in your body? What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? Start scanning like what areas in your life are you holding on to things that you just don't need anymore. Maybe you're holding on to other people's problems. Maybe there's something that's going on with like a friend or a family, and you started to embody it and you're holding on to it like it's yours. That gets stored in our body. That's extra weight, which is AKA extra energy, because everything is energy. Right. So with these 20 pounds that I want to release, and yours might be 2 pounds, yours might be 50 pounds, whatever it is, let's start with just scanning and analyzing our life, and just looking in the different areas, whether it's health, right? Whether it's, personal, whether it's like, partnerships or romance or career work, whatever it may be, like or maybe you can just start with, write a list of all the different areas and just scan them and just say, okay, in this area, what is it that I'm holding on to that's just no longer serving me right now? And that's okay. It's done what it needed to do up until this point, and now it's time to be released. And when you start to release these things, you'll start to see it mimic in your weight, and you'll start to release that, because it's just energy. And we don't need that extra shield of protection anymore, because we can let that go. Right? We can let it go. So let's do this together, guys. Let's start scanning our life and looking. And I know a couple of areas in my life and some things that I just need to let go of. And I'm making excuses like, but I'm so good at it and people need me and I need to do this, and it's just like, it's over now, and it served me up until now, and to let it go. And some other things that are, one or two things that's, a lot deeper. At some point I will share that with you guys, just not right now, because let me actually get through it. Let me actually get through it and release it, and then I will come back and I will share that experience with you guys. So, yeah. So I was watching, I love to watch TV. So, everybody has to think, people are like, oh, I barely ever watch TV. And that's cool, because everybody's going to have their own thing. I love to like watch things like at nighttime. That's my like escape, right? So when it is nighttime, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go watch this show. And I like to binge things in that sense. And then I'm like, okay, I get through all my things that I need to do, like my personal and work and everything. And then it's like nighttime, and I'm like, okay, I done served everybody. and now I'm just going to chill. But I also like watching TV because I receive so much more than just watching the show. So ever since I've been on this personal like development and just self-discovery, I'm noticing so many gems in different shows. I notice how there's like a message in everything that I watch. It doesn't matter what type of show it is. Or I also notice that they talk a lot about spirituality and things. And they don't even be new shows. They be old things. I'd be like, damn, but I just wasn't open enough to receive it. But I was watching this one show, and I love military. Was in the military, but I love the Army shows and the Navy shows, like, the military or SWAT and stuff like that. I've always been fascinated with those type of shows. So I was watching SEAL, and he's a SEAL and he's married, and in that his wife was just like, I'm just over, she's like, I'm just over basically coming second in this marriage. And, she just was like, wanted him to just be done, but she knew that the SEAL was like his life. But her biggest thing was she was just afraid that he was going to die or he wasn't going to make it back, which she had every right to be upset about that, because they go on these, missions to Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia and all these things and all these missions. SEALs are badass, right? And she's just like, one day you're just not going to make it back. And she was just so like, all like, and she literally said, I just can't be your wife anymore. And because she was just like, he's just always gone. And like, what if something happens to him and all? So anyway, so fast forward, she ends up dying in a car accident. Of course, I'm over here crying, being ridiculous, right? And I just started thinking about how she wasn't willing to try, with this relationship anymore, because she was just, a big part of her just was like, he might not make it. He might not make it. So she spent all of that time not being with him and being in that separated in that awkwardness and stuff for her to end up dying. I said, what? Who wrote this? But it just made me think. So because of that situation, I was like, wow, like that time that was spent apart and like arguing and being like upset and just distance and separated could have been time that you were just still with like your husband, but you were focused so much on like what could happen that you bypass the present. And the show just has a lot, so I get it, but this is just the one aspect that I'm talking about on there. So then it made me think about when I was watching Insecure. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the last season, which you should have, because that's been a couple weeks now, so don't get mad at me. In that episode, Issa and Lawrence were like making their way back to each other. And Lawrence said to her, do you think it'll work? And she said, I'm okay with finding out. And I might have even touched on this before in a podcast. If what, so what? Listen to it again. So when I was watching SEAL and that happened, it made me think about what they had said on there and how that's just stood out so much. And I was emotional over there too. But it was the fact that she said, I'm okay with finding out. And then when you look at it, you bring it back into like your life and you think about all the things you don't do because you think this might happen. Oh, it'll never work between us, or that'll never work if I go do that. Right. So we stop ourselves from really, attempting at something that could be amazing for us, could be so beneficial, or just a nice experience or an awful experience but we still, we chose that. Right. And, I want you to think about maybe something in your life that you want to do, or maybe someone you want to be with, but you just like, yeah, it'll just never work. We're just so opposite. Or, this happened last time, so it's definitely probably not going to work this time. Or you want to, try a different job or try going in a different field or starting this business. But what if nobody supports me? Or what if it doesn't work out? Or what if this? Or what if I start this podcast and nobody actually listens to it? Or I really want to write this book, but there's so many of those same books. It's probably not going to work out. Whatever it is that you're telling yourself, right? If you really step back and think, what if you just switched it and just said, I'm okay with finding out, right? I'm okay with finding out if people will listen to my podcast. I'm okay with finding out if this relationship will work the third time. I'm okay with finding out if I switch positions, if this is something that's going to really enhance my career. I'm okay with starting that business. I'm okay with finding out if this is going to be a successful business based off of my terms of what success is. Right? What if you just switched it and said, I'm okay with finding out? And having that experience versus going to the part that we perceive to be like the negative part. Nah, that's not relationship. Definitely not going to work. There's no way it's going to work. No way this long distance relationship is going to work. Absolutely not. Well, of course it's not because you got that in your head. What if we really just focused on the present moment and experience, what we wanted to now with the attitude of I'm okay with finding out. And I thought that was so beautiful, right? Because you just never know. We don't know if something is going to work. We don't know if something is not going to work. The only way to know is if we move forward with whatever it is. It's the only way versus denying us an opportunity of something that could be amazing or beautiful or just dope for us. But we just shut down because we think this might happen or we think that it's not going to work out. And really, if you go a little bit deeper, that really just comes from a fear. There's really just there's a fear. So it's why put myself through that? And for whatever reason, we tend to go to the air quotes over here, guys, the negative aspect of something yeah, that shit's definitely not going to work versus saying yo, when I launch that podcast, that shit's going to go viral. Everybody going to be listening to my shit. That's crazy. When I write that book, #1 best-selling, what it's called, New York Times bestseller. My book's going to be a banger. Right? Or yeah, we attempted this relationship twice already, but this next time we are in different seasons and we have evolved and we have grown. And this time, God, it's going to be like a fairy tale. This time is just going to be so amazing and just so dope. Why we don't do that? Why are we not okay with finding out? Why are we instantly saying what something is going to be and then just shutting it down? Why are we denying ourselves the opportunity to do something that we actually want, something that might be a desire? Or just have that experience. Fuck it. What they say, YOLO, you only live once this lifetime. So when she said that, and she said, I'm okay with finding out, she didn't have an answer. Instantly he was like, do you think it'll work? Because of course he's going to feel something because of so many, if you watch the show, there's so many different things that happen in between their relationship that one would say, oh, hell no, this shit's not going to work because gosh, all this happened, all these other relationships in between that happen. Come on now, how's this shit going to happen? And I know someone listening is thinking like that. And when it comes to a relationship, thinking this happened and that happened, and there's just no possible way that it's going to work this time. So he just asked a question. She didn't have the yes or the no, but she allowed herself to be open and say, I'm okay with finding out. And I thought that was so powerful. So I started scanning my life and I started thinking, is there something or some things in my life that I feel nah, I'm not going to even try that because blah, blah, blah. And I had to really step back and just say, you know what? I am okay with finding out. Fuck it. Let's do it. And if it doesn't work out to my liking, at least I know. I think it's so much better to be well, I did it. I had the experience and it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to work out, but it's cool because at least I can say that I did it, and then within myself and feel good about it. So are you okay with finding out? Whatever it is, whoever they are, whatever area of your life, are you okay with finding out? And if you aren't, that's okay, no judgment. But I just want you to ask yourself, why aren't I? What is stopping me? Is there a fear or a doubt that's coming up? And then are you okay with pushing through that? Are you okay with proving yourself wrong or proving yourself right, whatever way that you want to look at it? I just think that is super important for us to not deny ourselves experiences that can really just enhance our life, can really make this lifetime a lot more enjoyable. Because contrary to whatever your beliefs are and whatever you were taught, we're not meant to suffer all the time. We're just not. A lot of the suffering, we create. I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of it we create. Like we want to do something and we get excited about it. We want to start this, or we want to create this, or we want to go here. We want to do whatever it is. And we're excited. And then we instantly go to the negative part of that. It might not work out. And then we create this turmoil where our soul is saying doing this, but our mind is saying, that shit ain't going to work. Don't even play yourself. So now they're not in alignment. Okay? And then your body's reacting a certain way. So then you have all three, your mind, body, and your soul, and they're just not in alignment. But you created that. I created that by allowing the doubt or the fear to seep in and not opening ourselves up to find out if this will work, find out if this is a great opportunity or an amazing thing or not. Because you may actually do something, this thing that you want to do, and it might not work out the way that you expected or you wanted it to. It might work out even better in a way that you weren't even thinking about, but you didn't allow yourself that opportunity to even find out. So sit with this, guys. Scan yourself, going back to the health, check in with yourself, check in with your body. If you started feeling like maybe I should get a colon cleanse, like do it. When you're looking it up, just look up colon hydrotherapy. And, take your health into your hands, and not just the physical aspect, but your emotional part too, because it all ends up being, connected, right? And then, scan the different parts of your life and see where you're holding on to things that just aren't serving you anymore. And it's okay to release it. And then you want to start doing some lifestyle changes of like watching the foods that you're eating, eating more for your blood type. If you even know what your blood type is, if not, check and see what your blood type is, and then look at the foods that work, with you and the foods that work against you. You can start to incorporate that. And then go a little bit further and look at some of the things that you want to do in your life, but you just weren't willing to experience, and you wasn't willing to find out if it will work or not, and kind of evaluate that and see if you can see if you can now get back to yourself and say, you know what, I am now okay with finding out if this will work, and then go and make it happen. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Until next time. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Seeing with Your Soul. If something you heard resonated with you, feel free to rate, review, and share with others. If you are looking to go deeper, you can connect with Tisha Michelle on Instagram at Mindset Slayer, or visit www.healingalignglow.com.